I didn't believe in ghosts before I found the evidence box for the lamplighter case. That's not a boast or a confession. It's just the truth, like saying I didn't believe in black holes before I saw the math. I was a true crime podcaster, not a paranormal investigator. My show, Tracing Shadows, had a modest but loyal audience who trusted me to stay grounded, to find the human story inside the cold file. I never hunted monsters. I hunted mistakes, lies, and the slow erosion of memory. The Lamplighter case was my third season. A string of disappearances across 3 towns in upstate New York between 1998 and 2002. 4 women, 4 nights. Each one vanished from a well-lit street, always near a lamppost that had been reported flickering or dead the day before. The media called the perpetrator the Lamplighter, but the name never stuck because no one was ever charged. No DNA, no witnesses, no bodies. Just a pattern so quiet it barely registered as a pattern at all, unless you were the one staring at the map. I got the box from a retired detective named Frank Naylor who lived in a ranch house outside Utica where the driveway gravel crunched like breaking bones. He was 82 and wore a sweater vest with a coffee stain shaped like the Mississippi. He didn't seem haunted. He seemed bored. "Take it," he said, sliding a cardboard banker's box across his kitchen table. "I've had it in my basement for 15 years. My wife wants it gone. You want it more than I do." I drove home that night with the box in my passenger seat, the summer air thick with cicadas and the smell of cut grass. I didn't open it until I was in my home office, a spare bedroom I'd turned into a recording space with soundproofing foam that looked like charred egg cartons. The street outside was quiet. The clock on my desk read 11:47 p.m. I lifted the lid. Inside were case files, crime scene photos, witness statements, and a single cassette tape in a clear plastic case with no label. I started with the files. The first woman, Margaret Hale, had been 29. She worked at a pharmacy and was last seen walking home from her night shift at 11:15 p.m. on October 12, 1998. The lamppost at the corner of Elm and 3rd had been reported out 3 days earlier. The city never fixed it. Her purse was found on a porch 2 blocks away, the contents untouched except for a single photograph removed from her wallet. The photo was never recovered. That detail stuck with me. Not the purse, not the missing photo, the fact that someone had opened her wallet, removed one specific image, and left everything else. Money, credit cards, a library card, all untouched. That wasn't robbery, that was communication. Someone wanted her to understand in her final moments that she was being seen. I looked at the second case. Lisa Chang, 34, a nurse. Last seen November 22, 1999. Lamppost on Pine Street reported flickering. Her keys were found on the sidewalk, still on the ring, nothing missing. Third case, Diane Kowalski, 41, a high school teacher. January 8, 2001. Lamppost on Oak Avenue reported dead. Her umbrella was found neatly folded and propped against a fence post as if she'd set it down deliberately before she disappeared. Fourth case, Renata Flores, 26, a waitress. March 3, 2002. Lamppost on Maple Drive reported strobing. Her scarf was found tied around the base of the pole, not ripped, not discarded, placed. I read the witness statements. They were all the same. People who saw the women walking alone, then looked away for a moment, then looked back and saw nothing. No car, no struggle, no sound. Just an absence, as if the women had been erased from the timeline and the world had already filled in the gap with silence. I got to the bottom of the box. The cassette tape was the only thing that didn't belong to the official record. Detective Naylor had written a sticky note on the case. Anonymous tip. Called into dispatch Jan 2003. Never traced. Don't know why I kept it. I own a cassette player because I'm a journalist and I've learned that people still record things on obsolete media when they don't want anyone to find them. I threaded the tape, pressed play, and leaned back in my chair. The first sound was breathing, slow, wet, like someone was holding a handkerchief over their mouth. Then a voice, male, soft, almost gentle. "I'm not telling you this because I want to stop. I'm telling you this because I want someone to know why." The breathing continued. I turned up the volume. "I don't take them for what they have. I don't take them for what they are. I take them one night a year because I was taken too. I was a boy. I was under a light. The light went out, and something that lived in the dark, something older than the street, older than the town, older than the idea of a town, came for me. It didn't kill me. It made me adore." I paused the tape. My fingers were cold. I looked at the clock, 12:03 a.m. The street outside was dark except for the lamppost in front of my house, which cast a cone of amber light onto the sidewalk. I pressed play again. Every year I open the door once. I choose someone who is alone, someone who is walking under a broken light, and I give them to the thing that took me. That's how I stay alive. That's how the door stays open. I don't want to do it. But wanting doesn't change. What you are once, you've been turned into a door. Tape ended. There was nothing after that but the hiss of blank magnetic tape spinning against the playhead until the machine clicked off. I sat there for a long time. The tape was a confession, but it was also a map. A pattern that wasn't random. A reason. I spent the next week cross-referencing the dates, the locations, the years, trying to find the common denominator that the original investigators had missed. And then I found it. All 4 disappearances happened on the second Tuesday of the month. All between 11:00 p.m. and midnight. All on streets where the lampposts had been reported malfunctioning exactly 3 days prior. And all of them, every single one, were within walking distance of a specific address. 142 Larkspur Lane, a house that had been sold multiple times between 1998 and 2002, always to single men, always cash transactions, always through a lawyer who never met the buyers. I called Detective Naylor. He didn't remember the tape at first. Then he did. "I always thought it was a prank," he said. "Some kid trying to scare us." "Did you ever check 142 Larkspur Lane?" Silence, then, "No, I don't remember that address in any of the files." "It's not in the files," I said. "I found it on property records. The house changed hands every year right after each disappearance." Naylor paused. "Every year?" "Yes." "How many owners?" "4, I said. "Each one stayed for exactly 1 year. Then they sold and moved. And in the year they owned the house, one woman disappeared within walking distance." Naylor didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said, "Don't go there." I went. 142 Larkspur Lane was at the end of a cul-de-sac in a development that had been abandoned mid-construction. The roads were paved, but the streetlights were wooden poles without bulbs, like skeletons holding empty hands. The house itself was a 2-story colonial with boarded windows and a roof that sagged in the middle, as if the whole structure had been holding its breath for decades and was finally giving up. I walked up the driveway at 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. The second Tuesday of the month. I don't know why I chose that night. Maybe I wanted to test the pattern. Maybe I wanted to prove it was all coincidence, bad police work, and a disturbed man's rambling on a cassette tape. The front door wasn't locked. The wood was soft under my hand, swollen with moisture, and the knob turned with a wet scrape like a bone twisting in a socket. I stepped inside. The air was cold. Not damp cold, not draft cold, cold like the temperature inside a refrigerator that hasn't been opened in years. The floorboards creaked. The walls were covered in newspaper clippings, but not about the disappearances. They were about light, articles about the invention of the street lamp, photographs of the first electric grid in New York, hand-drawn diagrams of circuits, all of them looped into a central point drawn in the middle of the living room floor. I looked down. There was a ring of salt on the wood, and inside the ring a single string of Christmas lights plugged into a wall socket that shouldn't have had power. The bulbs were glowing, barely, a kind of gray light like the inside of a storm cloud. I walked around the ring. The newspaper clippings rustled. And then I heard the breathing. It wasn't behind me. It was beneath me, slow, wet, the same rhythm as the tape. I looked down. The basement door was open. A crack of darkness no wider than a finger. I didn't go down. I'm still alive because I didn't go down. But I saw something I can't explain. The Christmas lights inside the salt ring flickered. And for 1 second, one long, stretching second, the gray light turned red. The color of an exit sign, the color of a tail light, the color of the last thing a person sees before they're gone. I ran. I drove home with my hands shaking on the wheel and the headlights cutting through a fog that hadn't been there when I arrived. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. It's been 6 months. I've contacted the FBI. I've sent them the tape, the property records, the map. I haven't heard back. I've tried to find the owners of 142 Larkspur Lane, but the lawyer who handled the sales died in 2004 and the county records are missing. The house is still there. The salt ring is still there. The string of lights is still plugged in, waiting for the next Tuesday. I don't go outside anymore after 10 p.m. I can't look at a lamppost without feeling the space beneath it, the way a shadow can feel deeper than the light above it. And sometimes when the power flickers in my neighborhood and the street goes dark, I hear breathing. Not in the room, in the foundation, in the ground itself. I started the podcast because I wanted to find the truth. Now I know what the truth is. The truth is that some doors are never meant to be opened. And if you hear a confession on a tape that should have been destroyed, you don't investigate it. You burn it. You burn the tape, you burn the floor, you burn the light, but I didn't. And last Tuesday, the light on my street flickered 3 times before going out. I checked the city repair log. It had been reported 3 days ago. I have 3 days, and I don't know if that's enough time to learn how to become something other than a door.